Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles and the Big Apple in New York City, welcome to all my listeners out there, Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, at caregiverdave.com, along with my lovely co-host, Adrienne Gruberg, at thecaregiverspace.org. Hello, Adrienne.
Hello, Dave. Hello.
Love to hear her voice. Coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on 25 global audio and video platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, Podcast Radio, SoundCloud, I messed that up, HealthyLife.net, Vimeo, Stitcher Radio, Blog Talk Radio, Mixcloud, Listen Notes, Blueberry, Player FM, Podcast.com, VIP Internet Radio, TuneIn.com, Facebook Live, Owl's Tale, YouBook, Castbox, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course, CaregiverDave.com. And we're proud to be voted numero uno Caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM, and one of the top 6 best podcasts on Caring.com, as well as number 3 podcast out of thousands on Caregiver podcasts on FeedSpot. And we have an exciting show planned for today, don't we, Adrienne?
Yes, we do.
It's Laura Staley. As the founder of Cherish Your World, she passionately supports people thriving in their hearts, homes, and lives. Oh, this kind of sounds like Dr. Bernie Siegel as well. We've had 3 guests in a row talking about personality, body, soul,
Well, that's what works.
Yeah. I love it when a plan comes together. Anyway, passionately supports thriving in their hearts, homes, and lives. Laura writes personal essays focused on self-discovery, Feng Shui, emotional health, and transformations from the inside out. Laura is a published author of Live Inspired, Let Go Courageously, and Live with Love. Transform your life with Feng Shui and the Cherish Your World gift book of 100 tips to enhance your home and life. Laura, welcome to the show. But before I welcome you, I take that back. I want to take this moment to thank my last week's guest, Holly Kelly, who is a gerontologist and a fellow thanatology, whatever that is, and an international and national multi-award winning author of the Amazon #1 bestseller and #1 release, Sunrises and Sunsets. I'm supposed to sing that. Sunrise, sunset. And I do know what thanology is. I just forgot. Thanatology. Oh, that does look better. Thanatology. What is that, Adrienne? Do you remember?
It's working with people and preparing them for death.
I didn't realize they had a name for that. That's great. Final affairs forged with flair, finesse, and functionality. That's F-U-N. She's also host of the popular globally syndicated Aging Gratefully show. And I was on her show too, so that was kind of cool. But we're talking about today Laura Staley, and she is an amazing guest as well. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me here, Dave. Thank you, Adrienne. Great to meet both of you.
I bet you were wondering if we ever going to get around to you.
Not at all.
And
patience.
We love, yes, you need to be patient on this show. We love to ask our guests this question: who the heck is Laura Staley, and why was she put on this earth?
Oh, it's such a great question. Oh, wow. Well, I'm many things. I'm, as you indicated, I'm the founder of Cherish Your World. I'm an author of 3 books. I'm somebody who really wants people to thrive. I'm the mother of 2 adult children, Matthew and Juliana. My son is in California. My daughter is in Columbus, Ohio. I believe I was put on this earth to compassionately guide, and deeply listen with my heart and my whole self to others, to a holistic transformation through the wisdom of Feng Shui, but it's grown so much bigger than that. I've studied and done a lot of work in leadership and emotional intelligence, and have learned that the inside work is some of the most valuable and transformative work that one could do, because our outside lives can shift and change so quickly and rapidly. But if we can connect with what I like calling the inner fly on the wall, or the inner owl, it can grow. You can name whatever the seat of the soul, that witness consciousness, that part of you that can just watch and listen, and is so quiet to your own thoughts, to the body sensations that you have, to what's happening out in life, and the interactions that you're having with other people. It's a really profound place to cultivate. I'm here to love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the best part, because what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's just the one thing there's just not enough of. And especially today, as we see what's going on out in the world, in many cities of America, and in New York, and even in your little state of North Carolina, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Let's start off by talking about the word that many people have heard that may not know the meaning of, and that's Feng Shui.
Quite simply, well, it's literally translated wind, water, and it's the merging of our inner desires or aspirations or preferences with the outer world of our spaces and our lives, our activities, our relationships. And to me, the definition is to work to enhance your life through the arrangement of your belongings, and use the physical space as a guide to your inner world, and then that inner world having a relationship with your outer belongings, because sometimes we get attached to what's in our physical world, and it's an opportunity to let go and to process through those emotions in our hearts when we can make that connection between the outer spaces and our inner worlds and the quality of our lives. So it's a 3,000-year-old wisdom from China, but it's practiced all over the world. Most people want to create safe havens in their living spaces or their work environments, so that they can be productive and creative and love each other. So in a family, to have that home that's welcoming, that when you're there, you just feel that good energy. It's about having that quality energy. And now, there are three principles and practices which I'm happy to touch on if you
and
like.
We will. Know. We have plenty of time.
Okay.
So my first question is, someone like me who really doesn't understand what Feng Shui. We've had a few guests on who talk about Feng Shui, and it kind of all goes over my head because I'm kind of dense. But everything that you described sounds like me. Is it possible that a guy like me can be doing all of that and not know he's doing all of that?
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that possible?
Oh,
good.
Absolutely. Yeah, right.
Definitely.
Because, for instance, something as simple as choosing a chair for your desk that supports your body and is really comfortable, you're doing Feng Shui. If you've got a pen that you love to write with, if you're wearing clothing that feel good on your body, if you're choosing artwork for your office or your home that you love, that when you see it, it inspires you. And maybe it reminds you of this entire story of where you were and who you were with when you got it.
And the cars we drive.
Absolutely, right. It's all included.
The cities we choose to live in.
Exactly, exactly. You know, for instance, I had a friend and a client who thought she needed pictures of nature up in her house, which were beautiful. And when you walked into her foyer, she had these gorgeous nature pictures, but she had a passion for New York City. And as I'm seeing in the backdrop, those images of New York City, and she had that aha moment, because I think often I'm just giving people permission, right, to
Yes,
realize
the background of your video. Yes,
right, that you can take down those images and put up images of New York City, which is exactly what she did. So for me, it's very personal. It's custom fit to each person that I work with, and of course, to clear away the things that are stressing you out, reminding you of not pleasant experiences, the past. Because a lot of times people accumulate things and then it starts blocking their creativity. They start to experience confusion in the mind. And when you, okay, that's the laughter.
Adrienne can relate.
Right.
See, I'm getting ready for a move, so all the stuff is everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
I've been to Adrienne's.
Moving is such a great opportunity. So that's so wonderful that you're seeing it and experiencing. And I think most of us, if we've moved or gone through some kind of life transition, a career shift or new relationship, a relationship ends, you have kids or kids go off, leave the nest, an empty nest, those points of transition are often opportunities to look at our physical space and go, wow, what needs to change to reboot and recreate this space to be a reflection of my life right now, which of course is matching one of the principles, which is everything, the energy in everything is always changing. And Feng Shui invites us to embrace change because it's dynamic and, you get that fresh perspective, new insight, and the courage to let go of whatever might have been blocking the new day, the new moment, and resolve those, maybe even things that have clogged our emotional heart. Yeah. It can be, for me, it's so liberating. It's incredibly joyful and liberating. People will literally say after they've cleared, oh my gosh, I can breathe.
Yeah, I understand.
Yay! That's a good thing.
So this is very interesting to me, and so I wanted to bring Adrienne into this because I've been to Adrienne's home, and it's an amazing place. Maybe we have similar feng shuis, I don't know, but I'm assuming that you are very comfortable in your home, right, Adrienne? The way it is. I know things are changing for you now.
Things are changing for me.
But you chose everything that's there.
Yeah, I chose everything, but I chose it with my late husband. And
so there's a double feng shui.
He was not as, let's just say, adventurous as I was. So I had to...
You've done some remodeling since he passed, though, right?
Well, the kitchen, yeah. The kitchen is
the most important house in the most important room in the house.
Absolutely.
You took your kitchen back.
But I liked everything that we got, but I might have done a few things differently. But I love the apartment. And
okay,
I'm stressing out because I've got to leave the place.
I know. So it's sad because it's you. And are you thinking about some of the changes that will be in your new place? I know it will be smaller, but will it be an imitation or a replica of what you have, or are you going to look at different things?
It'll be reinvented.
Blank canvas.
I'm so happy in my little house. I have a place on Fire Island, which I haven't been to because of COVID.
Yeah.
And it's cozy. And it's a little fussier, but it's a little more me also.
Yeah. So what advice can you give Adrienne, Laura, as she goes through this difficult transition?
Well, I mean, for sure, take a moment or two or three or as many as you need to grieve. Dare I say that? Because you're bringing closure to a chapter in your life, right? And then stay open to that. What continues to bring that cozy feel. Those things that maybe you had forgotten about that you really love and want to bring back into your life. So for me, it's an opportunity not only to be creating that space as a reflection of who you are now, but also creating the relationships and the activities that you want to be doing now in this new stage and this reboot of your life and this pretty amazing transition. And continue to celebrate the love that you had with your late husband, which is so beautiful, and allow that to be the foundation on which you are creating your new life. Yeah.
The interesting thing is, I'm a native Manhattanite. I was born here. I've lived elsewhere. And I've been looking for a new place to live here. But of course, COVID came and I've been locked down and I haven't been able to go looking for an apartment. But in the meantime, for the first time in my life, I've considered living outside New York. And it doesn't feel terrible to be thinking about moving to Ojai, California. So
wow,
it's a big change, but I'm open to it. It's like, because of COVID, I've had a chance to think about what I want to be doing, not jump into something. It's forcing me to have to rent something for a year, and while I rent, I'm going to visit Ojai and Sedona and see how it feels. So
fantastic. Well, and you can let your body be your guide.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Just listen. Trust yourself. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's such a leap of faith, and yet, when your heart and soul are ready to fly to a whole new experience, it can be a little, but it's
daunting.
Also really, daunting and yet really exciting, because I can feel that as you were describing it, kind of like taking that little breath, and yet the enthusiasm in which you're opening yourself to that new experience. It's wonderful.
I'll try. I'll see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah, when I left Columbus, I had only lived in Columbus, Ohio, or Central Ohio, my entire life, and my adult life in Columbus. And I had a friend, and then moved 2 years ago to Black Mountain. I had a friend say, well, if you really don't like it, you can come back.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've fallen in love. So, and may the same happen for you when you land. And renting is great because it gives you that time to really look and see and trust yourself and feel it, because we often are guided when we can feel ourselves and walk into a space. So yeah, it's wonderful. Exciting.
It's exciting, yeah.
So,
and a little daunting. Yeah, a little daunting and a lot of packing. Moving is not the easiest thing.
So let's talk about you, Laura. What do you do, and what practices do you have that help you to live that inspired life that you talk so much about?
Oh gosh, well, for me, I run or bike. Well, no swimming this summer, but I move my body in some form or fashion. A little bit of yoga, the body. I've even started to learn belly dancing to integrate the divine feminine, which is a lot of fun. I have a gratitude practice and a daily meditation practice. Sometimes with the gratitudes, I'll just say them out loud. If I don't have time to write them down every single day, those are just some of the practices. I also, because I know myself to be a fairly highly sensitive person, I know another practice is to, kind of just dip into the media for very short, or allow others who have the bandwidth to take it in and let me know the highlights. And that's just a practice that I have to take good care of my emotional, mental, and physical health and well-being. And being in nature is just, that it fills my heart and allows me to live inspired. And I think the other practice is that awareness, to ongoingly be aware when something goes on inside of me. I've had an interaction with somebody and I'm like, oh my gosh, did they like me, and I've got worries going on, and to just kind of like look at it and notice, okay, where did that come from? What happened? Maybe get on the phone and check it out with that person, but be in communication with myself and these younger parts of myself, as well as with other people, so that I can continue to learn and grow and ask for honest feedback from people who really have my back and want me to thrive and be the healthiest and most balanced person that I can be in my own life. I would also add that it helps immensely that I'm in a love relationship that's the healthiest that I've ever been in my whole life. And we celebrated 3 years on April 27th. So that is just delicious. Yeah.
Now you're smiling.
I may be blushing. Right.
So you love nature. Am I hearing a bird in the background chirping?
That's what I heard.
Oh, it's very likely. I've got the windows open.
Okay.
I have 3 walls of my office / porch that are windows that face trees.
Oh, lovely.
And the birds and the hummingbirds, and I've seen black bear that have come in the side yard, and I get so excited like a little kid. Black bear! I have a respect. I don't get too close, but I often find my camera to take a picture.
Do you have hummingbirds?
Sorry?
Do you have hummingbirds?
Yes, we do.
In that part of the country.
I love the hummingbirds. And I'll hear them a lot of times before I see them. I've seen more hummingbirds here. Now, if I had put up a feeder in Ohio, I probably would have attracted some. But the previous property owner of this property did beautiful landscaping that attracts butterflies and the hummingbirds. It's fabulous. Yeah.
So hummingbirds don't make any sound, do they?
The whirring of their wings.
Yeah, they don't chirp or anything.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. I can't think of a better topic to take a break on. Hold on.
One Arm, One Leg, 100 Words, Overcoming Unbelievable Hardships is about Sharlene, a stroke survivor. Back in 1996, Sharlene was a healthy, normal, very active 52-year-old woman whose amazing talents resemble that of both a Martha Stewart and a Wonder Woman. But all that changed when she suffered a massive stroke that left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on the right side. Who am I? My name is David. I've had the privilege of being Sharlene's husband since 1975. We had a wonderful fairy tale storybook-like courtship that culminated in our marriage a year later. Sharlene had just come out of a marriage where after 10 years, she received 2 black eyes and a broken nose by her former husband when he came home high on speed. Sharlene believed in no second chances of any kind for abuse, so she left. Finding herself all alone in the world with her 5 and 10-year-old daughters Cynthia Lorraine and Deborah Lynn, she started raising them by herself for the next 2 years. Then fate brought us all together. After falling in love with Sharlene, Cindy, and Debbie, our love then produced Rebecca Elizabeth. We had a wonderful, normal life for the next 20 years. But today, things are very different for everyone. How about the reaction of 9-time Grammy and Dove Award recipient, the godfather of contemporary gospel Christian music, Andre Crouch? Sharlene just won't let the promises of God go, and she has not let her circumstances get in the way of her faith. She's not just a survivor, she's more than a conqueror, as the Bible states. You'll be encouraged by her testimony, regardless of what you're going through. Available everywhere.
Welcome back. We are with Laura Staley and my co-host Adrian Gruberg, and we're talking about Feng Shui and all of the things that help us just feel connected to everything that is in our lives. And my next question to Laura is to quote George Carlin, we all have stuff, right? And our stuff is very important to us. And Adrian's got a lot of stuff. I saw her stuff.
Oh, boy.
But now she's downsizing, and she needs to let go of belongings. Some of them are belongings that she loves but doesn't have room for. Some of them she's willing to let go. They're unwanted at this point in her life. But it hurts. It hurts to let go of our stuff. It's like our stuff is a part of us. Explain that. What's really going on here?
Yeah, we imbue our belongings with meaning. In fact, it's one of the first principles that everything has energy and is alive with energy. Now, that includes our inanimate objects, and it's because we imbue them with stories and associations and experiences that we have. So that beautiful piece of artwork on the wall isn't just glass and wood and color and images. It's an entire story from your life experience that hopefully connects you with that person or people or a whole group of people, and an experience of love, an experience of inspiration. And that's part of the reason that people got very grippy with their things, because the belonging reminds them of those experiences that they've had and the whole story. And it fascinates me because I've had gratitude giveaway parties where people will bring something that they're ready to let go and bring something that is meaningful to them. And you and I might look at that object, right, that this other person has brought and just think, oh, it's a plate. And yet, oh my gosh, when you hear the entire story of what that plate means to the person, you get why they're holding on. I remember a woman who had a hanky that she brought. It was this white piece of linen, right from that thing perspective. And yet it was connected to her dad who had passed away. And I knew that she was going to keep that hanky close to her for her entire life, possibly, right? And gosh willing, she didn't lose it or something like that. But that's part of the reason why our belongings become so meaningful to us, is they have heart attachments, if you will. They're like the little tiny footprints on our hearts that are now outpictured in our physical spaces. And to let go is a grief. It's a grieving process, especially if it's something that you deeply love. Like Dave, I heard you say, Adrian, you're letting go of some things that you love. I had to do the same thing because I downsized after a 22-year marriage came to an end, and children, were adults and went off in their lives. And I went from a family of 4 and 2 dogs and however square feet of house I had to, a third that size. And I got to grieve And it's interesting because sometimes we might struggle to grieve the loss of a loved one, but when we're dealing with the belonging, and I've experienced this with clients, even participants in workshops or at those gratitude giveaway parties, where once they're with the object, all of a sudden it's like this permission to finally grieve or come to terms with that loss and the love. That's why I like calling it grief love, because when we love so deeply, that's how deep we grieve. But it's very important emotional work. I know our culture kind of trains us to suppress emotion, and I'm one of those who encourage people to allow the emotions to flow through in safe ways, so you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting another human being, but really doing that deep work in your heart to stay open-hearted to whatever, and then those the gratitudes to thank. Sometimes people have a practice, and I know it may sound silly to some people, to actually thank the things or take a picture. So you have it on your phone, but it's not taking up physical space, because maybe like you're downsizing, right? And you just don't have the physical space to bring that big, long dining room table or even
take a picture.
One of the things I have is a 10-foot long dining room table.
Take a picture.
It's not so easy to find an apartment. Yeah,
I hear you.
Or find a picture.
Yeah.
Find a picture where it's full of people,
Yes, I have.
Take that picture, yeah.
Yes.
There you
go. Yeah.
Good idea.
Well, have you ever been a caregiver, Laura?
Of my two children, yeah, but not of a so a mother, but not of an elderly individual. I do have an older senior friend here in Black Mountain, and it will absolutely. I mean, she's about 20 years older than I am, 25, and it will be an honor if anything happens to her to be there and support her in her journey to that, what I call an ultimate transformation.
Yeah, a lot of the things that caregivers go through are the same things that everybody goes through, just more intensely, And so you talk about cultivating the inner fly on the wall. What does that mean? I know what it means to be a fly on the wall. Yeah, I wish I was a fly on the wall listening to that conversation. But what do you mean about cultivating the inner fly?
Yeah, it's that inner part of you that can just bear witness, to be a voyeur for your own thoughts, your own body sensations, your own emotional world, and quietly watch like the clouds passing by, and expand that quiet inner part of you with compassion and love and peace. Yeah, that's how I would describe the inner fly on the wall. And it takes time, and it's absolutely a practice, because our minds can be very, very, very busy. And what I've discovered is part of the reason the mind gets so busy is it doesn't want to deal with what's happening in the heart. And when we drop into our bodies hold so much information about our lives, just like our belongings do. And when we drop into our bodies and into our gut, often we talk about that, having that gut instinct, we gather a lot of information about what is going on with us. And cultivating that quiet one, or that voyeur of yourself, allows you to see what needs to shift or become unblocked or heal, and set aside. So you may have this thought that really hasn't served your life, and when you're cultivating that inner fly on the wall, or whatever it is that you want to call it, some people call it the seat of the soul, the witness consciousness, that you can begin to separate you from that thought. Like you, the quiet one, can just watch it, because we're not our thoughts. We're not our emotions. All of that is just kind of flows in, flows out. We're not even our things. We're not our title, because that can change. All of those things are impermanent. But the one inside of you that watches all of this and can notice it, it is the one that can help you transform and heal what no longer serves, and it can help you unblock what might be stuck in your heart, or how you might be protecting your heart, and just kind of soften in that voyeur place.
Yeah, you counsel people, don't you?
In a way, I do. I'm not a counselor, but I am definitely a compassionate guide. So I will deep listen to what's happening for people, and I'll watch them, because you ask those meaningful questions and they begin to tell the story, and you can feel the energy of another human being when they get really excited. It was kind of like watching Adrian's face light up when she talked about California. It was like this mixture of, excitement, and yet kind of like, okay, yeah, it's daunting, because it's both and. A lot of times we're experiencing both and. So being mindful of like paying attention to another human being. And when you cultivate that inner fly on the wall, you can listen from a really quiet place. And you can tune in, like I can tune into my own body cues about another human being, and be that observant, and then just give them, be a mirror. Like, oh gosh, I could tell that you were talking about the creepy picture on the wall, and your body was just kind of like curling in on itself, right? Whereas when you were talking about this object or this experience that you had, because a lot of times when we let go of things, we open our lives to experiences. So yeah, so being able to listen from that deep, quiet place allows me to just mirror back to a person what I'm observing and what I'm experiencing from them and their energy, and to leave them in a place that they're empowered to tune into that for themselves. Like, oh my gosh, what does it feel like when my body's happy? What does it feel like when I have a chair that I sit on that's really comfortable? Oh my gosh, I've been whacking my, stubbing my toe on this curly Q furniture item, and I don't have to do that anymore. Like, oh my goodness, no, you don't. Because sometimes belongings in our space cause harm. And a lot of this wisdom is about comfort, safety, and flow. But yeah, the deep listening and the compassion, because I've experienced so many things in my journey that I'm able to know if somebody is having that moment of jealousy or envy or resentment or bitterness, or, oh my God, I can't believe I have this still, And I'm like, okay, what needs to be resolved around your life with that object? And I've absolutely had clients grieve right in front of me as they're holding belongings and sorting through what they need to let go and what they want to hold on to. Yeah.
I have a question. This is coming at something sideways. So there are many people many caregivers who are grieving the person who are either anticipatory grieving or grieving the person that's no longer the person that they knew. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Alzheimer's or dementia, or in Dave's case, his wife had a stroke and he had to adapt. So how do you deal with that kind of grief?
I think it's similar. It's a letting go. It's a setting down who the person was, and embracing who's right in front of you right in this moment. And it's a practice. And it takes such courage to let go. We get so attached to experiences that felt good, and we kind of want to repel the experiences that hurt or are uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can open our hearts to what's right in front of us, it allows a larger lens to grow and a deep, radical acceptance for what is right in front of us right now. And having those tears, softening the hands, like literally, and softening the heart, and maybe even the that
right, there's that too,
right? You know, like I don't know this person any longer. Who has this person become? And yet we're looking for new pathways to connect. So if it's Alzheimer's or dementia, singing. I mean, I had a friend who had a concussion, and I would sing to her. And I mean, it was right. It just, because when we open to what is right in front of us, then that allows for all kinds of new possibilities. And I'm not saying this is easy.
No, music is a great tool to make the connections. Yeah. Thank you for your answer.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, so caregivers, getting back to caregivers, they go through a lot of emotions from one spectrum to the other: fear, pain, rage, sometimes happiness.
Sometimes happiness.
What are some of the roadblocks or obstacles that keep people and caregivers, since they're people, from fulfilling their dreams and their missions and their destinies in life? Because that's what it's really all about, right? You want to feel like you're here for a reason, like the first question I asked you. And like when you talked about your first love, you lit up like a Christmas tree.
Right.
We all saw that. And when you're talking about, the pain that other people feel, that you look so sad, because you're feeling their pain, and so what are some of the roadblocks? What are some of the things that most people stumble on when trying to discover their destiny and wanting to just be happy with their lot in life, even though they don't feel like they can be happy with what life has thrown their way?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think there's a deep, radical acceptance, and there's something about going to a place of the preciousness of life and of being alive. So even if I've got tears, or even in a moment of agitation, I can still choose consciously to be grateful for that moment, because I'm inside of a human experience and I'm alive to feel every bit of it. And can, in this moment, I be grateful? I know it's uncomfortable, but can I lean into that discomfort with the gratitude and knowing that I'm alive and I'm in this experience, and it's teaching me something about being human. It's teaching me about what I really, really care about. Because, sometimes what blocks us is we're distracted by other people's expectations, other people's agendas, other people's shaming us about things that aren't aligned with our hearts and our souls.
That would be guilt.
Yeah, right. Well, shame is the feeling, and guilt is the thought that I haven't met somebody else's expectations. And being brave enough to connect with your own. And so setting down and maybe looking at all of those different expectations that have come at you, but then setting them down and saying, what do I deeply value? I love how Mary Oliver says it, allow the soft animal of your body to love what it loves. And I would add that even when it's painful, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts and you just can't even believe that you're in this experience, there's something there that it's teaching you about being alive, that you, in the next moment, if somebody else is having that similar experience, you can actually hold deep compassion because you know what that uncomfortable, really hard place is in your own soul and in your own body. And so rather than spending energy on judgment and, I ought to be and I should and all that kind of stuff, you're in the experience of being alive, connecting so passionately with the experience in the moment that you're having it. And it becomes precious and sacred because the very next moment is something else, right? And the next moment, and then the next moment. If we can open ourselves to the impermanence, nothing stays the same. Nothing. I mean, we're living through this unbelievable experience, right? And if we haven't gotten to the place where, wow, the seasons really do change, the leaves really do fall off the trees, the flowers do bloom in the springtime, the sun does come up, like to tap into that inside ourselves so we're not missing the moment. And I think sometimes we're so busy in our mind fussing about something that happened 30 years ago. Not that that's wrong, but can we bring closure to that thing that happened 30 years ago so we can be in this moment, in this conversation with the two of you, rather than ruminating about something that I have no control over it changing, right? I can't do a do-over to something that happened 30 years ago. And it's a radical acceptance. So, the block, I think I answered your question. I hope so.
Yes, you did a good job answering my question. Thank you.
Because I had a moment going, what was this question? And I was like, oh, right, the blocks, and then the meaning, connecting with the meaningful life. Yeah. I just recently took on the commitment, Dave, of being grateful no matter what happened. If there's a tech glitch, if I fall and skin my knee while running, which did happen, if, I just recently lost both my parents, to really just the gratitude practice is so amazing, to take it on for everything. And it's a conscious commitment because then I get to see what my true preferences are. Like, I think sometimes we have a preference that people not die, but they die. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And gratitude is biblical in all things, yes. Yeah. So we're going to take another break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Dave Nassaney, the Caregiver's Caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too, Thrive to Stay Alive as a Caregiver. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Sharlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. He now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his amazing caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today or buy one for your special caregiver, on sale everywhere and at caregiverdave.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Caregiver Dave Show with my lovely co-host Adrian Gruberg and our guest Laura Staley. And burnout. Let's talk about burnout. How do we know when we're approaching burnout? Because I think once we're there, it's too late. You can't just put it in reverse to get out of it. But let's say we're already there. We didn't follow your directions, and we're burned out. In fact, we're fried to a crisp, and we've already gone past the straw that broke the camel's back. We've said things we didn't mean. We've yelled at people. We've snapped at people. We may have even come very close to abusing our loved one because we're just not in a good place. Any advice for those people? Is there hope?
Yeah. So forgiveness is really profound. Taking responsibility for that place that your body, mind, and heart are in, and taking that deep breath. I'll just share that moment for me. I lost it. I had several episodes, and then I had a moment that my kids were really little, and I saw their faces. Like I opened my eyes after this fit storm I had, and they were terrified. And I finally saw the faces of terror on their little faces, and the shame that washed over me. And I knew I needed support. I knew I needed to make a change, and it's so important to take that time out for self-care, because your life is connected to so many other lives, and if you haven't filled up that tank, it empties, right? And then to have those gentle practices, maybe it's just 5 minutes the next day that you let everybody know, I'm taking a time out. And this is what I began to communicate to my kids, and they were little. I mean, I called the professional because I actually needed professional support for what was happening for me. And I, reached out to others to support me in taking some things off of my plate, so that one of the things on the plate was me. So you. And I know it's a flip-flop, especially for caregivers. We're so trained, give, give, give. And yet, if we're not filled up, then the martyr thing, the resentment sets in, and wow, we are just not being our best selves. And so starting to put you on the calendar, whatever that is, whether it starts with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, once a week, however you can structure it into life, and then reach out for support. I think sometimes caregivers think that they can't reach out for others in community and say, wow, I absolutely got to have that time out. Emotionally, I'm maxed. I'm maxed. Yeah, so
Great
important.
Answer. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just explain what's behind you there. Did you paint that yourself?
Well, this collage actually, let's see if I can show it. This collage I made, that is personal. And then this is the Live, Laugh, Love flag that a dear friend gifted me that got to come to North Carolina. I had it up on a door in my other house, and it's now on the wall.
I can't believe how fast this hour has gone. Thank you so much for coming on the show. If listeners are interested in finding out more about you or your book or email you, where can they go?
They can go to cherishyourworld.com or loveyourspaceleveyourlife.com. My email is laura@cherishyourworld.com. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. The books are available at Amazon except for the gift book. I have a box of those, so you can go to my website to get all 3 books. But For Let Go Courageously and Live Inspired, you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and also there's some. Well, I guess the bookstores aren't quite open yet, but
Not yet.
not yet. But eventually, those will be available in some local bookstores, both in Columbus and in the Asheville area.
And Adrienne, how can listeners reach you?
It's Adrienne at thecaregiverspace.org, and all the social media connections can be found at thecaregiverspace.org.
And they have chat rooms and
we have forums and chat rooms and a magazine and a virtual magazine and lots of different things that will help.
Are you the editor of the magazine?
No, that's Corey.
Too bad. You're such a great editor.
Well, no. I do edit, but I don't edit other people's pieces unless they ask me to.
I gotcha.
That's a good policy.
Yeah. Well, and I'm at caregiverdave.com, and we have 3 free gifts for anyone who goes to caregiverdave.com and goes over to the section that says Burnout Quiz, free Burnout Quiz. And because a lot of people don't know that they're burned out. And this will remove all doubt and tell you how to get better. So until next week, we will see you again. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Laura, and thank you, Adrienne, every week for tirelessly coming and doing this. We appreciate it so much. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.